going on, everybody? It's Childish. We're back at it again with another video for Might and Magic Elemental Guardians. In our last one, we talked about the meditation glyph set that we recently put out there, and we got it set up on the Winter Druid. So I was asking myself between the Rat Dungeon farming, if I were to move on next, between the benefit and the strength, which would I go, to? And so obviously with the meditation being incorporated now in my team, I'm definitely a big fan of it. So I thought I'm going to go ahead and try out the strength dungeon now. So I basically have taken my rat dungeon team essentially and just kind of cleared all the way up to the content autoing stage 7 for the most part. I think I targeted one of the units here, but for the most part I was able to clear a decent amount of content through the glyph, or sorry, through the strength dungeon here without too much trouble. But that being said, I got pretty lucky here, and so now I'm going to go ahead and just showcase you guys this particular stage, this boss here, the air ghost, so you guys can see how the mechanic works and possibly look into certain units that you want to consider when building your first strength dungeon team. So this one's going to be a little bit different, the air ghost versus the water, so we're going to have to be concerned about our water-based units that we incorporate in here. Again, I'm just showing the run right now so you guys can see it, but this is definitely a unique one to say the least here. Now I'm going to go ahead and target one for now just so I can focus it down and kind of explain things that are going on here. This is a really cool boss. I got to hand it to them. Like, the first skill just has a single target strip. The second skill has an AoE blind, so it's obviously going to force us to not land specific debuffs that we're really trying to do. But the cool thing about that one is it's a 2-turn cooldown, so it's going to be casting it quite a bit. And so even though those two things seem really good, the biggest thing that we have to deal with is this passive. This passive makes her immune every single time it poisons twice for 2 turns, so that is a lot of harmful effects that you have to keep up with. So, first thing that I thought about is immunity, right? That's the thing that we generally speak about when we have this amount of harmful effects coming our way. I did play around with the Earth Bright font for the time being, and that one there is just essentially a unit to provide the attack buff, the defense buff, and the immunity for 2 turns. However, it has a really high cooldown, and you need to obviously invest into it a lot, quite a bit of skill ups here. So naturally I didn't have it, leveled up and glyphed up the way I wanted to. So, but either way, when playing around with it, even in lower stages, I realized that even having one immunity unit, I realized it was just not something that I can keep up with. So, outside of the immunity, what else can we consider? We could still play around with poison in this stage. Obviously, it's a really good component to use when trying to clear those ads. But the one thing that is going to be crucial to your composition is purgers or strippers, right? So having specific units that provide a way of stripping that buff is going to be extremely important here. And then, of course, if you have a unit that can provide you a beneficial blocker in order to stop her passive from being utilized so that you can provide all the harmful effects that you're doing right now, is definitely something to consider. So again, this is a little bit crazy because of the fact that I'm running 2 water-based support here versus but obviously again, we're just kind of doing a showcase. Take a look at some of the better glyph monsters that I have. I'm just gonna run it through and hopefully get it done. Now again, I was able to get it done, but it was kind of a semi-auto. I targeted one versus the other. Obviously, if down the road, if I were able just to do a full auto, chances are it wouldn't happen because of the purge, to be able to land that strip. That's a huge component that you have to consider. So my composition, we'll take a look at it here. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just kind of run it. I'll just run another one just to kind of get the farming done, and then we'll go from there. So let's go ahead and do. Should we do strength 9? Let's just do it. Whatever. There we go. We'll just run it. We know that we're not gonna do well here, but we'll go ahead and run it for the time being, just so you guys can see it. More than likely, what I'll do is I'll do a little bit of show this little part of gameplay here, and then we'll just probably skip to the boss if we make it that far. So, so outside of the things that we talked about, right, the immunity and the purging, obviously, like I said, the immunity is really nice, but I feel like I need to have, if I'm going to bring in somebody with immunity, they need to have a couple of additional roles here. So right now, considering that the Earth Bright Dawn has is really nice and provides the buffs here, the defensive buff does not change the damage that is implemented by those poisons, and the poisons is something that stacks quite a bit here. So obviously, thinking about that particular skill in hand, I mean, the immunity is a big thing, but since I can't keep it consistent, I basically opted to take the immunity out and go for a double healer. So as you guys can see on the left, I'm running the Earth Nymph. This was actually my first AoE healer that I ever had, so I already had her built. There was no reason to switch her up. The reason why I'm running her is because she has a pretty unique kit. She obviously has the AoE heal. The AoE heal is on a little higher cooldown time, unfortunately, than, let's say, the Water Nymph. I believe the Water Nymph is a really good unit. But again, considering that the boss is air, I have to, you know, obviously consider like which units that I want to bring in. And so the Earth Nymph was an easy choice, not for just the elemental advantage, but the opportunity to purge or to strip. Her second skill provides that strip that I'm looking for. And again, because of the fact that she is Earth versus you know, any other element, she's more than likely going to be going for the boss and allow me to strip that skill. If I can strip that immunity and possibly get the immunity or get the beneficial effect blocker on from the Air Unicorn, then I can definitely hold her back and just allow the Earth Felicore to do work. So Earth Felicore, he didn't change in my composition. Obviously, the AoE poisons are just too OP not to consider, but he also has that purge in addition to an ability on the second skill that provides amplified damage by 40%. So without question, he's just one of those key units that if you have him, you're definitely going to consider him. You're never going to sit this unit out. He has too many roles in his kit that makes him super, super good. When it comes to the Air Unicorn, like we said before, even though that passive is pretty OP on that boss, it can be blocked by a beneficial blocker. So considering that the Air Unicorn was one of our first units that we already built, it has the beneficial effect blocker. It has a cleansing effects to kind of counter a little bit of those poisons. And then depending on how many healers you run, either way you look at it, it's providing the healing effect bonus as well as the speed buff. So it's going to allow you to cycle through your abilities and assist your healers in order to get it done. Speaking of which, I don't think we're gonna make it. Maybe we'll target this one, but the Earth Diva here, it's a pretty unique unit. I definitely would love to have this one. If you guys haven't played around with this in PvP, it's really a hard one to deal with. This one has an AoE Confuse, which if you guys are not familiar with this gives those units that have the Confuse debuff on a 50% chance to hit one of your your friendlies, right? Hit one of your own teammates. So the fact is that some of these skills that you have, they're really, really detrimental, skills, harmful skills. And so if you land like a AoE poison from the Earth Felicore on your team, or some kind of AoE stun or attack bar, I mean, this can really set your team back. So I ain't gonna lie, the AoE Confuse, just that simple mechanic is definitely one that I'm a big fan of. And so considering that they included that in the mini boss, that's pretty cool. So yeah, right now we're not doing too bad. We're still having a good time here. Not too much to be concerned about. As far as the ads go, they have range from a variety of different abilities. I've seen an AoE attack break. I've seen a single target silence. I've seen an AoE bomb from one of the ads as well. I haven't seen a defense break. That might be something that will be coming up here. We're going to take a look at the Strength 9 dungeon, these ads here, and see what they do. And we'll kind of go from there. But so far, obviously we haven't had too much of a struggle, but the struggle is going to come by that boss stage. Obviously with this setup here, we're heavily reliant on our healers just to be able to keep up with the heals, and hoping RNG kind of comes our way with the meditation set on the Winter Druid, as the Winter Druid has that nice flat heal to assist my units here, since they're kind of built in a little bit of a hybrid fashion, a good amount of defense and a good amount of HP, just not all HP, so that I can get a little bit more value out of this flat heal. Let's go ahead and target the Water Nymph. The Water Nymph has a poison for 1 turn, and then this one here has a resistance buff. It looks like I can't even click it. Increases the resistance of ally by 2 turns and clears up 2 of the harmful effects. So this cleansing, I think the cleansing is probably something that we probably want to focus on, but the amount of poisons that are coming our way from this unit, I feel like I want to go ahead and try to reduce those, because obviously the Air Unicorn is not going to be able to keep up with all of them. The AoE heals are only going to provide us a certain amount of support there. So let's go ahead and see. Oh my god, did we just get one shot at there? I think we did. All right, let's go ahead and switch to the Earth Nymph. We still have 1 healer. We might be able to get it done. It's kind of scary considering how low we are. If we get a heal in, oh my goodness. Okay, so the heal over time was really, really late. It wasn't enough to keep it in, but I think this is to be expected considering where we're at. Now I know that we we got the ads down, so yes, all we got left is the boss, but Considering that we are literally at, strength 9, we're on the strength 9 right here. I feel like regardless of what you guys are looking at, Wrath 9 and Wrath 10, it's definitely something you could do, especially Wrath 10. I think it's something that you can do with 4-star units, but I think the glyphs just have to be there. Whereas, once you move into those, if you're looking at like auto 10, I mean, obviously you can set up the perfect composition, but those base stats is what I think is really going to give me the edge. So obviously by the time that I really focus on this dungeon, then I think that, I'll have a couple more units 5-starred. I'll have a couple more of these units skilled up and have a little bit better glyph sets from the Rat Dungeon, so that I can go ahead and do a little bit better here. So I think we talked about this a couple times. We have an Air Saboteur by means of the Solus Marionette. Now this one is actually a pretty unique one that I would definitely throw out there. Oh, epic fail, there we go. So Solus Marionette, this is also has that beneficial effect block for a 3-turn cooldown, so it comes up relatively quick. But if you're looking for an AoE slow as well as the AoE poison, this kind of fills both of those roles. And then the evolving mechanic, if you guys haven't seen this one here, 40% chance of decreasing the resistance, as well as on the skill, it's not going to really do too much here, great damage here. But there's one thing that I have definitely been really excited about, that those accuracy debuffs as well as the resistance debuffs, I'm thinking I'm underestimated those skills. Now, I know that the Earth Nymph has that one. I've been playing around with that a little bit on that boss, and so I'm gonna see how things go along the way. But that might be something to consider, especially with some of these bosses that we'll run up into. Being able to reduce the resistance or the accuracy of them, so they don't provide those poisons, right? That might be something to consider, right? If we cannot, how do I say this? If we cannot prevent the amount of poisons that are coming our way, why not try to reduce the accuracy of the boss if we have the option to do it, right? Because I'm already running the Earth Nymph. I got the accuracy debuff here, but if we have the opportunity to reduce the accuracy, thereby reducing his chance for landing the poison, that just allows your healers to be able to keep up with it, a little bit better, give you a little bit more downtime for your skills to come up so you can do whatever you're trying to do, whether it's the cleanse or the heals. It's definitely something to consider. So again, I'm not going to throw too much out there, but just to kind of talk about, just the mechanics. And again, my current team right now running double purge, double heal, at least two forms of defense mitigation by means of my Winter Druid, the defense buff, and then of course the shelter from the Water Arcane Bird. I may have to mix it up because again, 2 of my units, which are pretty clutch, are water, so those are the units that are going to take the most damage here. This is something that I messed around with in Rat Dungeon, running a couple of fire healers early on and then wondering why in the world I'm not able to keep up there. And of course my fire healers having the elemental disadvantage towards that boss. It took a lot more damage than I anticipated, and I just kept on having RNG go the way that I didn't want it to go. So I'm going to leave it with that, guys. Again, this is not a how-to video on how to run it. I basically just wanted to share my experience with you, kind of get you guys thinking about what kind of things you want to incorporate. Maybe what we could do in the section down below, in the comment section down below, is possibly talk about some of the key units that you guys might want to consider incorporating. Do you think accuracy debuffs can assist in essentially mitigating the main part of this particular unit? Or are you just going to do what I do and just stack it to the heels and pray to the RNG gods that you have enough skill ups into these units and you don't get stunned in order to keep up with all the damage that's coming your way? A lot of things to consider. Would you even consider running like a poison mill unit? If you have a water Tran, I feel like it's an amazing unit, but let's say you don't have the water Tran, maybe you have like I think it's a fire ghost, right? Fire ghost with the poison mail for 3 turns with a 4-turn cooldown. You got a couple of options to increase the amount of damage that you do. But again, my thought on this one is basically, if I cannot reduce the RNG or reduce the chance of her landing that poison buff, what can I do to just essentially keep up with it? And I don't know if immunity is going to be the answer. I really don't. It's kind of crazy because I think you should be incorporated it, but I'm just still kind of learning it. So all this being said, I know you guys are laughing right now because like, damn, this guy won't keep on. He just won't keep on stopping, right? He won't keep on talking. I guess it's moments like this, for those that you guys have already done like a lot of theorycraft, but it's moments like this that gets my head spinning about different things to do, different things to incorporate, that makes this so much more enjoyable. I probably could have typed in Mmeg strength 10 guide or whatnot and figured out the way to do it, but something about just trying to do the run you know, the first time and figure out things, you know, just on the fly. I mean, it's a really big, I really have a good time with it. And I hope that, you know, talking about these theorycraft and things, you know, as far as the mechanic goes, I hope that kind of helped you out and kind of get you excited for what's to come. Now, disclaimer, we're talking about Strength Dungeon, but I hope that you understand the value of quality when it comes to your glyph and your synergy. So even though we're playing around with Strength Dungeon right now, yes, I'm still talking. Just bear with me. The video won't be that much longer. The fact that we're still talking about Strength Dungeon, I think that we should be staying in Rat Dungeon for quite some time. We need a ton of glyphs to be able to keep up with what's coming at us. So again, I hope this video gets you thinking, but I hope it doesn't motivate you to stop what you're doing and get into Strength Dungeon. You definitely want to stay in the Rat Dungeons there, get a lot of glyphs, and then, you know, work your way on to Strength Dungeon and see if you can get yourself a couple of those meditation sets, okay? Now, take a deep breath, Childish. Yes, I'm going to teach you. Yes, now it is over, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It's your boy Childish with ChildishPlays checking out. Take care, and we will see you guys in the next 42-minute video. I'm out.